Gypsy Man, and I want to talk about a few things that I've come across and I've been thinking about lately, and actually had a conversation with a gun tuber. His channel is X Ring Ray Helms about this issue, and it's actually an issue that I saw on his video when he was talking about, and this is the Staccato P. And we'll come into why I have this up here, other than the reason that I don't have a HD 4.5 and I won't have one. And he was testing out for everyone the 4.5 for everyone. And I started watching this video, and right away he said the gun was brand new, he hadn't shot it, and as soon as he put a magazine in the gun, he loaded, he charged, and the gun didn't go back in battery. And if you're a Staccato owner, a Staccato P or any other Staccato, when you first got your gun, you didn't have that issue, because the engagement after you charge Staccato is fairly strong. So it concerned me, because I also saw that on some of the other gun tubers videos that got the gun first. They did it with the HD4, and then they got the HP 4.5, and they were having the same issue with a few different things that I saw. I saw that the HD series, sometimes you didn't have an extraction right after shooting. Some people were having battery issues, it not going into battery after you charge it, not riding the slide but letting it go. And that's an issue, because they made this gun for, they created this gun for duty use. They're going after the law enforcement and the agencies, right? But you put together this gun, the concept is cool. Ain't nothing wrong with the concept. We're going into that phase of people making these 2011s using Glock mags. Cool, no problem. My thing is, and with the reputation that Staccato has, because I'm gonna tell you straight off, my Staccato P, I've never had a malfunction of any kind with my Staccato. I have had an issue with the magazines, but the gun itself, my Staccato P, so far, and I can't believe it, because I didn't believe before I bought it, when somebody mentioned that they never had a malfunction. It's true, I never had a malfunction with my Staccato P of any type. So to see the 4.5 come out with the Glock mags, which are probably some of the most reliable mags on earth, right? You're having these feed issues. And my thing is, a Glock eats up everything. It doesn't matter what you put into a Glock, it's going to shoot it, right? So if you spend this much money on a gun, it should be able to perform at that same level. I'm not going to say better, because I don't know if it gets much better than the way a Glock can eat up anything you put in it and function. So I see him with the 4.5 having problems. Mag after mag, right? It'll shoot, he puts a new mag in there, low charge, and the gun doesn't go in the battery. So in his video, he mentioned that it's because the gun was new. And wasn't broken in, to be specific. And that kind of that incensed me a little bit, because if you buy a duty gun from a manufacturer, brand new guns, I expect, because of the nature of the audience that you're going after, law enforcement agencies, military, and what have you, that gun functions out the box. No break-in. If you needed a break-in, you should have did it at the manufacturer before you sent all those guns out. Whatever number that is, for these agencies, like for individuals, they spent all that money, they're going to find reasons in their head to justify why their gun's not working, which is what I was hearing. Oh, the gun, it needs to be broken in. No, a duty gun doesn't need to be broken in. It should work right away. There are guns out here, Glock. I'm thinking about the Mark 25, right? The Navy gun, the Navy SEAL gun. If I get that wrong, forgive me, but there's a reason why they chose those guns over others. They know it's going to work under every condition. Out the box, put the ammo in there. It doesn't matter what ammo it's going to be, it's going to function. If you spend this much money for the consumer, you're going to like what? I don't know. At the time, 2,500 for a P, right? Never had any issues with this gun. It's not drop safe. So you go to this next version, the HD. It's drop safe. Different type of trigger, feels the same to me. And you're having problems with feeding. And you're telling me that I have to break the gun in. And I have great knowledge on shooting guns when you're issued guns, right, from an agency. And you're going to fire that gun, right, as many times as you can to get they want you to train on the gun so that you get to know that gun, because that's the gun you're going to be using. You're going to shoot over 1,000 rounds, right, in training, just getting to know your gun. And usually when you're issued that gun's going to stick with you for your career until they cycle them out. And then you know they're going to cycle those out. You're going to shoot that gun a few times, less than you probably shot your first gun, and you're going to have that gun. And hopefully that you'll go out there and you'll practice with that gun, and make sure that you're not having any problems with that gun, and you make the changes that you need to make so that you know that that gun works. For instance, with a service Glock, I know that I can't use extended slide releases with a 40 cal, right? 9mm, no problem, but my 40, I had to get the flat slide release. So things like that. With a Glock, you get bigger, straps. You get plugs or what have you, whatever your department or your agency allows. So go back to the video. I had to make a comment. I try to reserve my comments when other people are doing videos out of respect. But this one had to be addressed because when you read through the comments, people were like, oh, great review, but nobody was mentioning those malfunctions, maybe a couple people. But that is concerning to me as a professional. I want the gun to work out the box. I don't want to have to break it in for it to work. If I have to break in a gun for it to start functioning correctly, that means that it may not function when I need it. That's how I look at it. That's how serious it is. And when you need your tools, you need them to work right away. No matter if you haven't shot it in a while, no matter if you haven't lubed it in a while, which is why I personally do not subscribe to 2011s as duty pistols, because people who are in the industry, who are not the industry, but are in the profession of carrying firearms for a living, know that it's possible you may not take that firearm out for a while. You may not lube it for a while. You should, but maybe you won't, depending on how busy you are in your assignment. And when you take it out, some of the old timers, you might see some dust bunnies, but they still need to be able to have a functioning gun when they need it, And for people like myself who shoot often, we don't have those issues with lube and all those things because we shoot often, but I'm talking about for some of the individuals that some of us may work with that don't shoot as much as we may. So who's to say that their gun's going to function after this quote unquote break-in period? I don't believe in break-in periods. I think they're dangerous. And I don't think manufacturers should be giving agencies, law enforcement, guns that you have to break in for it to function, because it's mechanical, and we know mechanical things fail. So, and I'm a little perturbed by this. So I commented to Ray, and Ray was saying that, from his background in law enforcement, they shot, 1,000 rounds with the pistol that they were given. And it was a break-in period. But for myself, who started with Glock, my Glock never malfunctioned when it was breaking in, quote unquote, breaking it in, getting to know the gun. And that's what I expect from any gun that is given to service members. So the 2011, to me, should function because of the price you pay for these guns. I question that too. When you go on these websites, they say that this many agencies have purchased these guns. Now, I question that because I've been reached out to by Staccato on behalf of them getting in contact with an agency that I work for. So it's not like, your armor goes to Staccato or anything. If they know through their profile that they have you, because I purchased a gun, they know what I do for a living, they know who I work for, they can reach out to you and try to make that connection right there. It's business. But the thing is, when you, going back to what I was saying, these guns cost a lot of money. And for the agencies, as people who are blue label or what have you, we pay a little bit less than civilians. I imagine if you get a certain number of these guns, you can get a deeper discount. I don't know that for sure. I'm just assuming, and I don't like to assume. But because of the price of this gun, I don't see many agencies purchasing 2,000. Thinking about, LAPD or New York City, they may have 10,000 officers. I doubt if they'll buy a 10,000 2011s because they're too expensive. And when I buy, see, and going back to the website, when you see that it's been, approved by 1,800 agencies, that could be for off duty, which I personally wouldn't EDC a 2011. That could be just a few people on the department, if the department allows you to buy your own guns, may have a 2011. I seen a security guard with a 2011, and I had some questions, but I kept it to myself. So when I was talking to Ray, he was like, yes, guns may need a break-in period. I disagreed with that. He has experience. And then we went back and forth respectfully, and we were just having a conversation. It wasn't an argument, anything like that. I respect him. I think he's an authority on firearms. He has experience. And he has worked for an agency. We both came to the conclusion, or we were both in an agreement, that we both do not suggest 2011s as duty weapons. And that's pretty much how our conversation ended. But it just had me thinking. It just kept me. I've been thinking about it for a couple of days now. I don't like to see the Staccato HD. I think it needs to be reworked. I think it needs to be perfected. If you're going to offer it to the servicemen, perfect the gun. I don't want a break-in period for it. I want it to work out the box. I don't want no issues. If you say it takes Glock mags, it should take Glock mags. If you want to use the Mechar mags, it should take those, and it should function correctly out of the box every time. I don't like seeing these hang-ups when you're offering us these guns that are supposed to be life-saving tools. And I'm going to end the conversation there. And it's not that I'm knocking on Staccato. I just want you to put out something, because I see you got new versions like 3.6, 4, 4.5. Are there improvements to the gun as you put out these different versions, or are you giving us more of the same? I need you to stay true to what I have experienced with my Staccato P. I think this gun is great. I would not put the label duty weapon on here because I don't agree with 2011s as duty weapons again. But, for the range, it's cool. I'm still working on it. And, I hope to master this within the next year. And I've had it for 2 years. So it takes time. So with that, I just want to say, I want us, these companies to honor us. Think about our lives when you're making these new creations. If it needs a break-in period, break it in at the manufacturer. Don't tell me, or put in the manual that I need to break it in. I don't want to break it in. I just paid $25,000, $3,000 or more for a gun. I don't want no break-in period. I want it to save my life. Gypsy Man, I'm out.